Golf can be a lot more enjoyable when you really crush it off the tee. I'm here today with Dr. Tyler Standifird, and we're going to talk about some things that he's done to help you understand how you can increase your speed off the tee. So first, a few comments about some of the physics of golf ball flight. So for every mile an hour of club head speed I can get with a driver, what does that do for the golf ball?
Yeah, you're talking probably about 2 to 3 yards of carry for every one mile per hour that you gain with swing speed. And I think that's important to know because sometimes I think we need to gain, you think, hey, I've got to hit the ball and swing 15, 20 miles per hour faster. And hey, that'd be great. And I see that occasionally, but even 4 or 5 miles per hour can make a huge difference.
All right, so if I do 4 miles an hour and I get 3 yards, you know, in the maybe a little higher elevation, I get 3 yards per mile an hour. That's 12 yards closer.
Yep.
And I'm guessing now, so that's at least one club less into the pin, right? And now your irons are probably going to go a little faster as well.
Yep.
So you do 4 mile an hour with the driver. It may go from a 9-iron to a gap wedge. Right?
Yeah, and I think that's a cool point, right? Because everyone's searching for the speed, and I think what's really cool about speed training is you get that speed throughout the bag. It's not like you bought the brand new driver, which, hey, I love a brand new driver, but that's only the one club. Yes, that helps you off the tee, but in your scenario, if I'm playing a 400-yard par 5 and I can move my drives from 250 to 265, I'm now 135 yards out instead of 150, and then what you just said, I'm probably hitting my gap wedge 135 instead of 125. I'm going to have more of a scoring club in my hand.
Right. Why does speed training work? I mean, kind of what's the, from a body perspective, kind of with the training and the analysis that you've done of people that do the training, like what's the theory behind it? Why does it work?
Yeah, the big theory, it's not that we're training muscle size, correct? You're not going to swing these sticks and then show up to your next party and people are going to be like, man, you look great. Okay. What you're actually training is the way your brain communicates with those muscles. And so that can be something as advanced as something we call rate coding, which is just simply how fast can our brains send a stimulus to a muscle. It can be things like we're activating more of our fast twitch muscle fibers, which is something I think people have learned about. It's basically, I like to think of it as we have a lot of golfers out there that are they're like marathon runners, right? They're moving a little more slowly, and this is kind of how they think they need to swing. And what I'm trying to do with speed training is activate that part of the brain that's going to make our golfers sprinters.
Tyler, you work doing some consulting work with the company that makes speed sticks, Super Speed Golf, right? Yep. And one of the things, this is one of their products here. One of the things I noticed, there's not a club head on here, right?
Yeah.
So what's the theory about why would you swing something that's not even hitting a golf ball? It doesn't have a club head on it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of golfers can appreciate this when they say something like, man, my practice swing just feels so good, it's so wonderful, and then bam, there's the golf ball and like everything falls apart. And so in some of the early testing with Super Speed, they did a little bit of testing with club heads and things like that. And the goal with this is to really try and help a golfer learn how to move fast, right? Train their body and their brain to move quickly. And so when we take that club head away, the beauty of it, you're not focused on club face control and impact positions and things like that. All we're doing is trying to get the golfer to focus on what do I need to do to make my body move this golf club fast.
So I've seen this a ton when we give lessons in here. People will do a drill, everything looks perfect, and then you have the ball on the ground, and then everything doesn't look perfect anymore, okay?
Yep.
So I think what I'm hearing you say, if I can free up my brain to not worry about hitting a ball, and I'm not, with this, I don't even have a notion of a face angle, I'm just trying to feel speed, that helps me unlock more speed potential within me.
Oh, for sure. And I think sometimes golfers then always the follow-up question is, okay, well, if that's the case, Tyler, then what happens when I do have a club face and when I do have a ball? And interestingly enough, in all my work in my lab, I can utilize TrackMan data and force plates and all this fancy stuff. The mechanics of the swing stay pretty similar to where they were before, and sometimes I actually see them improve quite a bit. So it's rare, if ever, that I see them get worse. They're just getting faster. And in a lot of occasions, they're starting to use their body more efficiently, the way probably it should be in a golf swing, and a lot of things fall into place.
So I know when I've done some training regimens with these, I mean, I definitely feel like a bigger shoulder turn. It's like if I'm going to move this thing faster, I got to get a bigger shoulder turn. And I know when I've been out on the course and sometimes the ball doesn't go as far as I expect, it's like, oh, that was not the full shoulder turn, right? So there's a great example of an element that you can train yourself. Just getting a full turn is very important for the speed. Right?
And what I loved, I worked with Dwayne a little bit with some of these things, and Dwayne used a radar that we have that allows you to actually measure air swings, right, as opposed to like a TrackMan where you have to hit a ball. And Dwayne was really good, and this is what we want golfers to do, where you see that speed, you're like, okay, that was 115. Okay, well, what can I do to make that go faster? Dwayne brought up one really good thing. I'm going to turn that shoulder, now that goes to 118. Okay, now I'm going to raise my hands up a little higher, and I got that to 120, and all of a sudden, you're training your body to swing fast.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about people that haven't done one of these protocols before. Kind of is this hard? Does it take a lot of time?
Yeah.
Like what's involved in doing a speed training regimen with the speed stick?
Yeah, my favorite part about it is that I don't think it's hard. You don't need a lot of space because you're not hitting golf balls, and it doesn't take a lot of time. So it's 3 days a week, 15 minutes a day. And what our protocols look like are you do a good dynamic warm-up, just some things to get the body ready to swing a golf club fast, and that takes about 5 or so minutes. And then basically it's just swinging these golf clubs fast. And so we do various drill positions. So the drill we always do to begin with are just regular swings. Your regular golf swing, standing in the position, but trying to feel what it feels like to move fast.
And doing it like as a right-handed golfer, swing right-handed.
Yeah, so you're going to swing right-handed first, and then we always have them swing from the left side, from the non-dominant side. So right-handed golfers swinging left. And this is something where we're talking about brain-body activation. One of the very best ways to unlock the brain and its interaction with the body is to actually do that task, but do it left-handed. In fact, I had a golfer in here, this was about 2 months ago. He started doing them and he said, man, this is really weird, Tyler. And then 3 weeks later, he sent me a text and he said, when I do the non-dominant swings, it forces me to figure out how to make it move faster. And he's a guy who picked up about 15, 20 yards on his drive and the same throughout his bag. So those non-dominant swings are really important. And then there's some drill positions that we do. And I think you brought up that. It was one of my favorite things that Super Speed Golf does was they came up with some things of, hey, golfers tend to really struggle to lead with that lower body. So one of the drill positions that we actually have them do is they stay kind of with the feet a little bit close together, and then they lead with the foot and then allow the club to come down.
So you're literally stepping, a step drill.
Yeah, right. We call it the step drill, right?
And you do that both right-handed and left-handed.
Both right-handed and left-handed.
And then what I really like, you get to the end of it, and it's just like full bore, as fast as you can. Right?
Everything you got in the tank. So it's 39 swings with these clubs. Again, it's not a lot of time, 15 minutes. And most golfers, when I do it the first time, they're like, whew, man, something was going there. And again, I just see so many good, good responses to this in the terms of swing speed gains. Because again, 3-4 miles per hour, as we discussed, 10 yards is huge if you can do that throughout the bag.
Right. So you've done a lot of these tests with various people. I'm ordinary. Let's say you're a 15 handicap golfer. Maybe you're mid-40s, 50 years old, right? Not in the most pristine, 20-something tour level, flexibility and so on. What's reasonable? What do you see as like a standard, if I go through a 6-week protocol of doing that, kind of what's a reasonable expectation?
Yeah, I mean, we see across the board 5 to 7%. I mean, that is across the board. So let's say you're starting out at 95 miles per hour. Getting golfers to 100 miles per hour is very, very common. We see that user after user. And interestingly enough, you bring up this 45, 50-year-old who's not your pristine 22-year-old recent college grad, right? Sometimes I would say that those 45 to 50-year-olds are the ones that have the most to gain from this because they're starting to lose speed. But they're also the ones that sometimes have the biggest gains, right? A lot of times those players will come in and I'll see 7, 8 miles per hour, which now you're talking 20, 25 yards, that's huge, right?
So if we look at a standard 10, 15 handicap golfer, maybe a 95 mile an hour, 95 to 100 mile an hour would be a a pretty reasonable for a 45-year-old male 10, 15 handicap, right?
Oh yeah.
So if I can get 5%, saying that's 5 miles an hour,
Yep.
that's going to be 12, 15 yards.
Yeah.
With the driver, and that's probably another 7 or 8 yards with the iron.
Yep.
So now literally I've probably taken myself from a 7 iron to a 9 iron,
Yeah.
or a 9 iron to a gap wedge,
Yeah.
going into the green.
Yeah, and if you think about it, you've just made a 400-yard par 4, 380 yards, right? And I'm guessing you like playing 380-yard par 4s more than you like
Sure.
400-yard ones.
Anybody does, right? Loft is your friend.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so as you're hitting into a green, if you're 2 clubs less,
Yep.
and it's because a simple 5 mile an hour, that seems like a pretty good return on investment for your practice.
And there's some good data now out there with on-course tracking, things like Arcos and Shot Scope, where they actually take these, the 10 handicaps, and if I can get them to hit, an 8 iron instead of a 6 iron, they'll be almost 25 to 30 feet closer to the pin when they hit that club. And you understand that as a golfer, and then all of a sudden scores start to go down.
I think anybody would say, if I'm hitting 8 versus a 6 is like, hopefully I can get it on the green.
Yep.
And with an 8, you're saying, I got this. I
Yep.
should be able to maybe I can get it to 1 putt,
Yep.
type of distance, give myself a time. So it's really a big, if you can do a 2 club difference with 5 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and that's a rational gain, that seems a really good return on your time.
Oh, for sure.
We'll put a link in the description below that will point to some resources on Superspeed's site where you can learn more about this. We're not selling them directly, no commission, just think it's a great product. Tyler's been working with them as a consultant for some time and seen a lot of golfers really get a boost. We thought we'd share this information with you as a great resource to help you hit it farther, enjoy golf better.